All right, part 2 of the ortho adventure. I realized, I guess it's one of those things where it is more obvious. The ortho, this GLM ortho function here, you're literally setting your, I forget the order, left, then right, top, or I guess, yeah, left and right, bottom, then top, and then near, then far. You're literally setting the bounds of your screen. So, of course, the thing you're drawing then appears within the bounds of those. And if you, what I was doing previously was, let me get rid of some stuff I just added. What I was doing previously was essentially just drawing the vertices straight to the ortho screen, right? So there was, because the model matrix down here was just identity, I wasn't doing any model transformations, I wasn't scaling up the rectangle, I wasn't translating at all. It was just being drawn. And because I defined the screen as, hey, I want the screen to be 0 to 100, and 0 to 100, and negative 1 to 1, that's what it was using. So if I defined vertices that were outside that range, it would draw it where I defined it. It was doing exactly, I mean, of course, any computer program does exactly what you tell it to do. It's usually on the human who is misunderstanding what they're actually trying to tell the computer to do. So I kind of was tinkering with this, and I added a translation, or I guess I'm modifying the, what I initially did was something like this, right, where I said, okay, let's translate the model matrix, or just make a new one really, and translate it with an x value of window width by 2 and window height by 2. Because I thought, kind of for ignoring what I initially just said, because my understanding wasn't fully there, what I thought was, this window must be, the dimensions of it, according to the orthographic projection, must be the size of the window, right? The window height and the window width. So I'm thinking, okay, window width divided by 2, it'll put it centered here, and height divided by 2 will put it centered vertically. Well, that's not the case, because again, I defined the points to be 0 to 100, 0 to 100. So instead, well, there's actually two ways to make it work. One, without modifying the ortho projection, we could say, hey, let's translate it again, but let's translate it halfway between 0 and 100, so 50, and then 50, and this should draw it in the center. Right, and it does. Another way to do it, if we don't want to do it this way, if I actually do want to use this translate call up here, let's get rid of that one. What I can do is modify this ortho call so that the dimensions are actually based on the window width and height. And again, this is kind of a, let me make sure it works first, but before I start talking about it. Okay, it does work. So it does work, but it's just really small because it's not being scaled up, because it's kind of like you're zooming out on a map, right? You're still drawing, let's say, the city on the map to be the size that the city is relative to the city size, right? But because the map is so zoomed out, it's now smaller. Now again, I don't really understand what these values mean within the context of the ortho, like what units they are. But obviously, if you use smaller values here, if you use 100 instead of window width, where the window width is, I believe, 1200, then of course it's going to be zoomed out more and smaller. And then a way to get around that, I could come in here and say, hey, let's scale let's scale it up. So let's do the model matrix, pass the first arc, and then back 3 of, let's just say we scale it up by 5. And that scaled up a little bit. I mean, obviously we need it to be scaled up a little bit more to get a significant difference, but you can see there was still a difference. Right? And that is a little off-center, interestingly enough. Not really sure why that is. It may be because, I don't know. That's a whole other thing, I guess. But yeah. So I'm getting a better understanding. I still I still wouldn't say I have a super solid intuition or intuitive understanding of it. I especially don't really understand perspective projection, but I at least, again, like I said in the last video, at least have gotten enough to unblock myself in the actual project, which is kind of the main goal. But I'll probably continue tinkering with this next session, try to get a better understanding of the intuition behind it. But yeah, let's go work through those roadblocks.